Episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to exit highly appreciated assets, defer capital gains tax, get optimal timing so you can create and preserve more wealth. Hey, we're also streaming on Expert Secrets podcast as well. In this video, we are covering some of the biggest objections. In particular, we're going to do a series on the biggest objection to the Deferred Sales Trust. But this one we're going to cover, like, is it illegal? You know, there's these questions out there about if some states recognize the Deferred Sales Trust as a legal way to defer tax. Is this going to work for my sale? Does it work for different asset types? And so, in fact, I got an email today, and one of the potential clients and partners we're working with, he says, "Hey, I've been researching, and I found this that some states don't recognize the Deferred Sales Trust. Is that true? Like, such California, for instance, does not recognize these types of installment sale agreements." And whenever you read something, you want to ask certain questions about how someone came to that conclusion. There's a lot of blogs and different things out there. And so some of the things to ask, whoever, puts certain things out there is, what do you mean by that? So what do they mean by that they don't recognize them, So what is the context of that? Now, so I think the context that they're referring to has to do with the Franchise Tax Board issuing a notice to qualified intermediaries to make sure that they're withholding what's due to California in an exchange. And so, we when we work with the Deferred Sales Trust, we're making sure to always do that. And we're with qualified intermediaries to know to withhold. And so we believe that notice exactly is stating for those that aren't withholding. And so, but there are those that take that and say, oh, okay, it must not work. And so you first want to ask them what they mean by that. And then also, how do they come to that conclusion? Really important. Have they investigated the legal documents with the Deferred Sales Trust? Have they investigated the IRS audit cases for the Deferred Sales Trust? Have they even spoken with someone who's done a Deferred Sales Trust, or spoken with an attorney who's done the Deferred Sales Trust? Or are they merely relying on what they're researching online? And I think in this day and age, we naturally want everything to be, we call it Googleable, where you can Google it and figure it out for yourself. But there's certain things and there's certain nuances that are not Googleable, and people that have certain really strong stances on things, you really want to make sure that they're coming from a position of actual evidence for that. And so, which leads to the next question: have they talked with any franchise tax board professionals? Have they talked with any Deferred Sales Trust attorneys? Have they talked with any CPAs or any commercial real estate professionals or financial advisors that have helped their clients use the Deferred Sales Trust? And which leads to the next question: have you ever considered? And so this is kind of a three-step process. When somebody makes a truth claim or a really absolute statement, you want to ask kind of three questions to find out what they mean by that claim. And I study certain ways to communicate, and one group I study is a group called Cross-Examined, and they take the approach of asking really important questions. And again, the first one is ask the right question. That is really step one. When people make truth claims or statements, it's not our job to refute them; it's their job to support them. So you want to ask these three questions before responding to their statements. Number one, what do you mean by that? Number two, how did you come to that conclusion? Number three, have you considered? And you want to fill in the blank with evidence that the person you would like to consider. And so some of the evidence for the Deferred Sales Trust: have you ever considered? There are over thousands and thousands of Deferred Sales Trusts that have closed. In fact, I made a little graphic here that kind of illustrates this. And the Deferred Sales Trust has had over 20 no-change audits, 20 no-change IRS audits. As well, there's billions under management. Thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions. We'll just say 3,000 plus right now. As well, 26-year track record. Okay. Tens of thousands of tax returns filed for these trusts. lifetime audit defense. So let's kind of go through all of these. So these 20 no change IRS audits, 12 of these were random audits, meaning they were not triggered by the Deferred Sales Trust. They were actually just high net worth individuals who happened to use the Deferred Sales Trust, happened to get audited. And as a part of that audit, the auditor found the Deferred Sales Trust and asked them what it was. And then the audit ensued on the Deferred Sales Trust. Now, these were all closed out as no change audits, no findings, no changes. In fact, the largest one was actually in California. It was $100+ million property in Southern California that was audited, no change, no findings. There's also been a part of some of these 20 audits were additional formal audits, or like formal reviews, some known as like promoter reviews. And some of these promoter reviews were actually done in California, right? And then sent back to Washington, D.C. These are also closed out as no change audits, no findings. And so that's really important to understand that it has a perfect, literal perfect legal track record, never had any findings. And so when you read on the internet that someone says, oh, some states don't recognize this, you got to ask them, what do they mean by that? And even when they say California doesn't, you got to ask them, have you considered that there's all of these audits that have taken place and none of them have changed? And the largest one was in California, and you give them that evidence, okay? Plus, there's billions under management, and again, all the thousands of closes, and then there's lifetime audit defense, right? So audit defense is really important because that gives you, the note holder, right, or you, the professional who's considering introducing the Deferred Sales Trust on our team to your client, the confidence that should an audit actually happen, state or federal, that you have, that the Deferred Sales Trust tax attorneys that we work with have lifetime audit defense that they provide. And that's really important because you want to make sure you can sleep well at night. Okay, so I want to unpack a few other things too as well. Some other things you can consider, because it's one thing for us to say it as well, right? You can say, well, you guys are biased. You guys are saying it because you guys do it, and that's true. But there's also third parties that have reviewed this. In fact, one of the best stories is a guy named David Young, and David Young helped to build PIMCO with a guy named Bill Gross, and he used the deferred sale. He reviewed the deferred sales for 2 years, and he found that the evidence was overwhelmingly compelling to offer it and to be a part of the DST inner circle. And so that's really important. You can talk to those folks. You can talk with other clients that have done this. You can talk with CPAs that for decades have used and helped file tax returns and help clients answer questions about the Deferred Sales Trust. And that's really the key here. We work on a no cost, no obligation basis, and we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to digest all of this evidence, to speak with those who have done the Deferred Sales Trust, because it can be a scary thing to use the Deferred Sales Trust because you've never used it before, and your professionals might be telling you, I'd be cautious about it. And it's understandable because they've never done it before. But you also wouldn't be watching this video or asking us about it if you didn't have a problem to solve that they already could solve. So here's the call to action, okay? I want you to consider setting up a call with the Capital Gains Tax Solutions team, especially if a deal that's $1 million net proceeds, $1 million gain, or you serve high net worth clients. I want you to consider bringing in your financial team. If they have questions, give us an opportunity to correct any misunderstandings about the DST and about its audit history. And I also want to consider that this quote by Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the nose, right? They're hit in the face. And it was a boxing metaphor, right? Where people came in and they were, they're going to beat Mike Tyson. They said, everyone has a plan until he gets hit in the nose. And that all changes. And so everyone's a skeptic to the Deferred Sales Trust until they're facing that $1 million or millions of dollars in capital gains tax or estate tax. So I want to encourage you to dive in, ask us the tough questions. It's your job to ask them, our job to answer them. You can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, look for the new book coming out, Building a Tax Deferred Exit Strategy. And we look forward to connecting with you soon. Thanks so much for watching this video.